Welcome to Study Medicine. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through how study medicine works. Now, if you're looking to study medicine in Australia, you know that there's a huge range of degrees, each with their own application requirements. Study Medicine has done the work for you in identifying all Australian degrees that are available, and in Australia there's 59 Australian university degree paths to becoming a doctor, and by comparing those degrees so you can choose the best degree for you to optimise your chance to be accepted into medicine. So let's walk through how study medicine works as it pertains to Macquarie University's medical program. Study medicine, of course, shows you the degree paths for 22 universities in Australia that have degree paths that lead to medicine, and these degree paths are shown at a summary level and also at a detail level. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the summary level for Macquarie University. So here we are in Study Medicine, showing Macquarie University's medical degree summary. And as you can see, the first part of Study Medicine goes through a general description of how that university's degree paths are structured. And in the case of Macquarie University, it is of course a postgraduate degree. So that means you need a previous degree under your belt in order to apply for medicine at Macquarie. The next part of Study Medicine describes the available paths that lead to medicine at that university. And in the case of Macquarie University, there's actually three paths. The first path is through the Bachelor of Clinical Science that leads directly to the Doctor of Medicine degree, and this path is known as the direct path. The second path is also through the Bachelor of Clinical Science, but this is an indirect path, and I'm going to show you in a moment why that's the case. And of course, the third path to medicine at Macquarie University is if you have a previous university degree. That's either an undergraduate degree or postgraduate degree, and you can have any degree from any university. This next part of Study Medicine goes through how selection works, and it's really important to understand this in detail. In the case of Macquarie, selection works differently depending upon which path you're going through to medicine. So in the first path, Path 1, which is through the Bachelor of Clinical Science degree straight into the Doctor of Medicine, this path is for international students, and these students go through a selection process at an earlier stage than students who are coming through the other two paths, Path 2 and Path 3. Path 2 describes the Bachelor of Clinical Science degree that leads to medicine, and that's known as the indirect path, which is for Australian domestic students. And of course, Path 3 is the undergraduate path with students applying through that pathway if you have a university degree. So this takes us through to the visual summary in Study Medicine, which is the heart of how study medicine works. So the way Study Medicine works is it shows each degree path to medicine in a visual format with purple rectangles representing the high school requirements, diamonds, either orange or grey, representing the undergraduate degree requirements, and blue ovals representing the postgraduate medical degree. So here are the three paths to medicine at Macquarie University, and we can see here why they differ. So as I said before, Path 1 is the direct international student path to medicine via the Bachelor of Clinical Science. This is a very different path compared to Path 2, which is for domestic students, which is known as the indirect path, and I'll go through the details of why that is the case in a moment. And of course, Path 3 if you have a previous university degree. So what does this visual summary show us? Well, for a start, you know, for example, that to go through Path 1 you have to be an international student. If you're an international student and you have an ATAR of 95 at a minimum, and you have assumed knowledge or have knowledge of maths and chemistry, you can pass through into the Bachelor of Clinical Science degree. Now, selection through into the Bachelor of Clinical Science and then straight through into the Doctor of Medicine degree actually takes place at the early stage when you're trying to get into the Bachelor of Clinical Science undergraduate degree. So those students with that ATAR requirement who have these subject prerequisites, in this case it's assumed knowledge in maths and chemistry, go through a selection process that compares their ATARs, and you have to sit a psychometric assessment at Macquarie University, which is known as the CASPA. Once you get through those two hurdles, if you're in the top ranking students, you can progress straight through into the Bachelor of Clinical Science. Now, this is a guaranteed entry path into medicine. There are some caveats though, and that basically is that you get guaranteed progression if you have an unconditional international place, provided you achieve a grade point average of 5.5 minimum in the Bachelor of Clinical Science, and you also have to achieve that same grade point average of 5.5 in the professional practice units. If you achieve those things, then you are straight through and into medicine. As you can see, that is a very, very different path and progression format to Path 2, which applies to domestic students, and this is known as the indirect path via the Bachelor of Clinical Science. And you can see the way this works. For a start, for domestic students wanting to go through this path, they need an ATAR, minimum ATAR of 90. Like the first path, they also have to have knowledge, there's assumed knowledge of maths and chemistry. Those students go through the normal requirements of competing to get into the university degree as any high school student. With those requirements, they go straight into the Bachelor of Clinical Science degree at Macquarie. Now, the interesting thing here is to progress then from the Bachelor of Clinical Science degree into the Doctor of Medicine degree. There are a couple of key attributes. First of all, you have to make sure that you have studied human anatomy and human physiology when you've been doing the Bachelor of Clinical Science, because they're prerequisites for the medical degree. And once you finish the Bachelor of Clinical Science degree, you then go through a selection process for medicine. That's a two-stage selection process, the first stage being getting a spot in the interview. And then once you've been interviewed, then the selection criteria for an offer of a place in the Macquarie University medical program is based 50-50 on your interview outcome and your GAMSAT or MCAT results. That path then compares with Path 3. So you're able to apply for medicine at Macquarie if you've got a previous university degree, and in this case it can be any degree from any university. Of course, the ATAR to get into that degree is dependent upon the degree that you first do, and of course the subject prerequisites as well. But you go into university, the key thing there though to apply for medicine at Macquarie is that that university degree has to have included human anatomy and human physiology as prerequisites, and Macquarie actually have a prerequisite checker to make sure that previous degrees have included the right types of subjects to cover off the human anatomy and human physiology requirements. Like Path 2, you can see that once you finish that degree, you are competing with a whole lot of other students based on your interview outcome and your GAMSAT results in order to secure a place. So the benefit of studying medicine is to give you this visual degree path summary to show very clearly what paths to medicine exist at each university and then how all those paths compare. Like everything in studying medicine, it's important to make sure you also check with the university to make sure that the information that you have is current. So that takes you through the visual degree path summary and how studying medicine works at a summary level as it pertains to Macquarie University. If you're interested in accessing study medicine information, head into the pricing section and you'll get information about how Study Medicine's subscription program works. You can subscribe to Study Medicine at either a summary level or at a detail level. If you're interested in other Study Medicine information, have a look at the free resources section. And if you're a student counsellor or student advisor, feel free to put a link on your website to the free resources information in Study Medicine. So thanks for watching. That takes us to the end of the first free trial information about Macquarie University's medical degree at a summary level. Feel free to watch the second video, which relates to Macquarie University's medical program at a detail level. And of course, safe and successful journeys along your path to becoming a doctor.